Welcome back, everybody, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be doing another tier list. This time we're going to be tier listing all 32 teams in the NFL after a majority of their offseason moves. Obviously, the most recent one was we had the Steelers and Dolphins swapping defensive backs with Mika Fitzpatrick and Jalen Ramsey. And then obviously the Dolphins got Darren Waller out of retirement. But we're going to take a look, evaluate these rosters now and then put them in tier lists based off of how I think they're going to perform next year. Now, this isn't my official power rankings. That I'm going to do closer to the start of the season. But this is just where I would group these teams right now based off of how they handled this offseason and how their roster has turned out. Let me fix this real quick. Definitely is GOOD. Anyways, let's just hop right into this. So our first team is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, they had struggles last season on the defensive side of the ball. They just got absolutely shredded. Now, their offense was on top of their game like usual. Joe Burrow went crazy. Jamar Chase went crazy. T. Higgins is back. This is a very good offense. They just need to figure out things on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they will be better this season. I'm going to put them in the good tier. I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. It was a little bit of a dark horse year for them last season, but I think they will be back into the mix this season. Now, the Patriots are an interesting team. Honestly, I'm a little bit higher on them than just being in the bad and awful tier. And I feel like awful is a little harsh for some of these teams. I'm going to change that to, pretty bad. And then bad. I don't know. Awful just sounds a little harsh. But anyways, the Patriots I don't think are in those tiers. I actually think the Patriots are going to be like a mid team, like a borderline playoff team this season with Mike Vrabel. I just think the match is perfect. I think Mike Vrabel with this team, it's just perfect. They have two really good running backs. Drake May is going to step into his sophomore year and showed flashes last season why he can be, this team's franchise quarterback. And, they have Stephon Diggs at the wide receiver position, finally have like a big name at wide receiver. And this defense made so many moves on defensive side of the ball, threw a lot of money out there on the defense. But I think with Mike Vrabel, it should pay off pretty well. So I think the Patriots have a pretty good chance of being like a borderline playoff team next season and surprising some people. Now, the Saints, I think, are going to be pretty bad. The Saints don't really have any direction right now. They have one of the worst cap situations in the NFL. Alvin Kamara is getting there. Had a lot of injuries last season and have offensive line issues. Their starting quarterback's going to be Tyler Shough, I'm pretty sure. I just don't really know where this team is going right now. I think they're going into a really weird... They're almost like the Phoenix Suns of the NFL, where they just have a horrible cap situation and pretty much no future. So I think they're going to be pretty bad this season. This is going to be an ugly year for Saints fans. I'm sorry. Now, the Steelers I'm going to put in okay. I think they're going to be with this Patriots, where they're just going to be edging the playoffs. But I think, Aaron Rodgers, obviously they have a quarterback who is... is going to win games for them. I think Aaron Rodgers going into what he says is his last year. There's not going to be too big of expectations for the Steelers this season, but I do think that they're going to be a borderline playoff team. They'll probably be 9-8 or 8-9 like they normally are, and maybe sneak into the playoffs in the 7th seed or just barely miss it. But this roster is all right. I know they have the whole TJ Watt situation right now, but I'm sure that'll get figured out. They'll get him on a mega deal. There's no way they're letting him go. I think this team will be decent, but I don't think that they're breaking any hearts next season. The San Francisco 49ers are up next, and this is a team I'm all over the place with. I definitely don't want to put them in elite, but they're definitely not pretty bad. Like, they're just somewhere in the mix here. And obviously they had injuries last year. I'm going to, at first I put the 49ers in my head in okay tier and like a mid tier. I think I'm going to put them in a good tier. I think they will be back in the playoffs next season. Like I said, they had a lot of injuries last season. They just got Brock Purdy on a mega contract extension. So if they are a mid team next season, then it's not looking too good for them because they put a lot of money into Brock Purdy. Obviously lost Debo. They still have Brandon Ayuk. Christian McCaffrey's coming back, hopefully healthier next season. And this defense did lose some pieces in the secondary, but I think they added pretty well in the draft. So I don't know. I think the 49ers are still a solid team. I almost just want to put them. You know what? I'm sorry, 49ers fans. I think I'm going to put them in the top of the okay tier. I don't know if I see them as a team that's going to be like fourth or fifth seed or in the division or anything like that. I really don't. I honestly like the Rams better right now than I do the 49ers. But next up we have the Arizona Cardinals. They got Josh Sweat in free agency. They still have Kyler Murray. They have Marvin Harrison, who hopefully should take that next step next season. Offensive line played a lot better than we originally thought last year. They handled the draft very well. You know what? I'm putting them in okay tier. They were able to get Walter Nolan. They were able to get really, really good selections in those first 3 rounds. For some reason, I'm blanking on the corner's name that they got, Will something. But I really like the moves that they made, and I think that they're heading in the right direction. I just think that maybe Kyler might not be the answer right now. I know that breaks a lot of Cardinals fans' hearts. But anyways, let's move on to our next team, which is going to be the Atlanta Falcons, who are also just a wild card team. There's another team on here that is a really wild card team, and it starts at the quarterback position. We don't really know how Michael Penix is going to start next season. He did show flashes last year when they benched Kirk Cousins, but you just never know, especially these sophomore guys. This roster has so much talent. They added some good pass rushing talent in the draft, and I'm honestly excited for this team, but I just don't know if Michael Penix has what it takes to take this team to the playoffs. That's kind of the big question mark right now. I am going to put them kind of towards the top of the okay tier. I think they might have a year of figuring it out before they take that next step. The Ravens I'm putting in elite. Not only just because I'm a Ravens fan, the Ravens roster is absolutely stacked. They have an insane secondary with freaking Jerry Alexander now. And then you have Nate Wiggins, you have Marlon Humphreys, and then you have Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks at the safety positions. This secondary is just absolutely loaded. Hopefully they don't still get burnt by Jamar Chase next season, like they always do every year. But no, this roster is just completely stacked. They have Derrick Henry coming back. They still have Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, that duo. Zay Flowers is coming back. Rashad Bateman's coming back. This team is just absolutely stacked, and I'm really excited to see where they go next season. And the Bills, honestly, I think I'm going to put in elite tier. I just don't think you can put the Bills any lower when they have a really, really good defense. Now, it did just come out that apparently Maxwell Harrison's getting charged on a sexual assault charge or something like that. I saw that the other day, which is unfortunate because I actually did like that pick in the first round. So we'll have to see where that goes. It's happening to a lot of guys in the NFL right now, unfortunately. But I did like the moves they made in the offseason. They have a very strong defense. And I think just when you have Josh Allen on your roster, it's hard to put them below elite tier. Next up, we have the Panthers, who showed some flashes towards the end of the year. And I think I'm still going to put them in the bad tier. I don't think they're going to be good. I think they might be like a 6-11 record or maybe a 7-10, which is, I think they're on the border between bad and just mid. I think Bryce Young obviously is the X factor there. He has to step up next season and play just like he did towards the end of last year, where he showed a lot of flashes in order for this team to just even be brinking on the playoffs or edging the playoffs. Now, I do like the selection of McMillan, T-Mac for him over there. I think he's got a good receiving core now. I think Chuba Hubbard's a really good running back. I think he'll come back hungry next season. And this defense should be improved, but I still think that they're young, and I think that they just need one more year to figure it out, just kind of like the Falcons here. Now, next up, we have the Bears. Now, this might be a hot take, but I think a lot of people are hyping up the Bears. It was the same thing last year, and I told everybody, I said, obviously they have a lot of talent. They made a lot of big moves, but we see this a lot in off seasons where teams make a shit ton of moves, and it doesn't always translate to winning. In fact, more times than not, it does not translate to winning, and they just end up being a really overhyped team. And I called that last season on the Bears. I'm not trying to hype myself up or anything, but I did say, be cautious on the Bears because I don't think that they have it yet. Now, I'm saying the same thing here because they just went through a coaching change. Now, Ben Johnson might come in and just light the league on fire, which would honestly I would be rooting for. I think that'd be really cool. We've never really seen a Bears offense that can just light the world on fire ever. I don't think ever. I've never seen it. Maybe when Walter Payton was playing, but I wasn't even born yet. So I think it'd be a lot of fun to see them do that. I'm rooting for that. I want to keep my expectations grounded, and so I think that the Bears are just kind of going to be in that okay tier just for this season. Now the Browns are going to be pretty bad. Obviously, they have same with the Saints. Just really no sense of direction. They just dumped a lot of money into Myles Garrett, which is understandable. But at the end of the day, I think that that money could have been used elsewhere, especially when you just literally gave the worst contract, I would say, in NFL history to Deshaun Watson and already fucked yourself over with that. Now, I'm not saying Myles Garrett's going to do that to them or play horribly now, but I do think that if you make that much of a mistake, you should be cautious on throwing that much money at any player in the NFL and just start building like through the draft and start building with young players. We'll have to see how it works out for them. Now the draft was one thing. I do like the selection of Judkins at running back. I think he'll be a beast for them. Now the only thing is obviously they lose Nick Chubb, which they were planning on doing. Jerry Jeudy's going to be their wide receiver one. Obviously, I stand on the fact that they completely effed up not taking Travis Hunter. I think Travis Hunter would have been a perfect selection for them, just a complete culture change for them. And I just don't know what they did in the draft. They had one of the worst drafts I've ever seen. They took freaking 2 quarterbacks, and it just didn't make sense. Now they have obviously 5 quarterbacks on the roster right now. They have Dylan Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Shador Sanders, and or maybe it's 4. Yeah, I think it's 4. And I just any of those guys could be the quarterback one, but none of them are going to win you games to the point where you're going to make the playoffs. So yeah, I think this team's just going to be pretty bad. Now the Cowboys, I'm putting in okay tier, and I don't apologize to any Cowboys fans for that. I know you guys are hyped up about being healthy next season and coming back. It's going to be the same thing year after year, same exact fucking pony show. It's getting ridiculous at this point, and I wanted the Cowboys to go in, maybe take a guy like Matthew Golden in the draft, or just get Dak some weapons, like some actual weapons, and I just don't think they did that. Now they did get George Pickens, so actually, I mean, I do think they won that trade where they got George Pickens. I just don't think that this team, has what it takes to be a good or elite team in this, like a fearsome team in this league, and I could be completely wrong. But that's just where I'm putting them now. Now the Broncos that's a team I went back and forth on. I do think the Broncos are going to take a little bit of a step back. Now, could I still see them being the 7th seed in the AFC? Yes, I do, but I think people need to lower their expectations a little bit. I think they're going to take a little step back. Now, I do absolutely love the selection of Jahdae Barron in the first round. That was not a pick they needed, but just an amazing pick, and one that I don't blame them for taking. But I do think the Broncos would take a little bit of a step back, might see a sophomore slump from Bo Nix, but I do think this team is headed in the right direction for sure. The Lions, I know they lost Ben Johnson. I'm still putting them in elite tier. This is a very, very stacked roster, and this is a pissed off roster who I feel like got taken a lot of things away from them last year from injuries, and I think they're just ready to just do what they were supposed to do last year, and that excites me. I think this team is going to be elite next year. Now, the Titans I'm putting in bad tier. I don't think they're going to be at the same level of like the Browns and the Saints, but I don't think they're going to be, pushing to the playoffs or anything. This is obviously Cam Ward's rookie year. I am a big fan of Cam Ward. I like his fit with this team. And, I like the roster in general. I think this is going to be a decent team. But I do think that obviously they just need a year to figure things out with their new roster. Now the Green Bay Packers are going to be good. They're kind of in that same tier as the Bengals, where they're not in that elite tier yet for me. But I do think that the Packers are obviously young. They're ready, and this roster is just exciting to watch year after year because you got Jordan Love, You got a lot of just real good young talent over there. Matthew Golden's now over there, which I love that pick. And I just think this team's exciting. So, and speaking of exciting teams, we got the Texans, who I think are just right there with the Packers. I mean, they're kind of in the same situation, just young quarterbacks who are exciting to watch with a lot of fun pieces around him. Now, they did lose Stephon Diggs, but I think that was a necessary loss. They have Nico Collins. They have Tank Dell. Now, I don't know when Tank Dell is going to return from that gruesome injury last season, but I know he's ready to get back on the field. And then they took the Iowa State guys in the draft, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knowles. So I really like those picks, and I think this team's going to be a lot of fun next season. Next up, we have the Colts. So the Colts are just going to be an okay tier. I do think they have a better chance of winning and making the playoffs, surprisingly, with Daniel Jones at quarterback. I do think Daniel Jones kind of got the shaft in New York. I think a reset is going to be good for him, and especially in like a stable environment like Indianapolis. I think that we'll see like a pretty good year from Daniel Jones if he starts, but I think that they're either going to be right there making the playoffs or just like 9th or 10th seed maybe. Now, next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm still putting them in bad tier. I don't even care. I know they got Travis Hunter, which obviously that was a W for them to get him in the draft. But I still think this team is going to be bad. I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence believer, unfortunately, because I do actually really like Trevor Lawrence as a player. But I just feel like year after year, it's just kind of been more of a letdown to what his potential should have been. And so I think that, unfortunately, it kind of makes me a Jaguars hater. Chiefs are going to be elite. We don't even really need to talk about them. Rams, I think, are going to be good. We talked about this with the 49ers. I like their roster. They're young. Matthew Stafford. There's a lot of Matthew Stafford lovers out there. I've been seeing Matthew Stafford being ranked in like the top 5 of quarterbacks, which is just insane to me because I don't know where that came from. The Matthew Stafford was always ranked like 10th in the past couple years, but all of a sudden, he's one of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And you know what? I'm a Matthew Stafford stan. I love Matthew Stafford. I love me some Stafford football. But, I think this team is built really well around him. They got Devontae Adams at receiver. They lost Cooper Kupp, but they got Devontae Adams. Puka Nacua hopefully should be healthy next year. And Kyron Williams is there. And this defense is just young and really, really good. So I do like that team a lot. I think they're going to win the division next season. Now, the Chargers is another team I'm pretty big on. And honestly, I think, and this might be a hot take, I think the Chargers actually have a chance this season of taking over the AFC West over the Chiefs. I just could feel it in my bones. I feel like this team is really, really exciting. I love the pickup of Omarion Hampton to pair with Najee Harris. I know a lot of people don't like that. They don't like that they took a running back in round 1 in general, but also when they already signed Najee Harris. Najee Harris is not your franchise running back. They picked a franchise running back in Hampton, and I think that the duo of them is going to be really nice next season, especially with how run-heavy this team is. Love Justin Herbert. Always been a big Justin Herbert fan. I hope he can stay healthy. But yeah, if he does, and this defense plays to the level that they can play at, I think this team can actually win the AFC West next season. Next up, we have the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, I think, are going to take a step back. I can't really explain that, statistically or anything like that. It's just a feeling in my gut. I think the Dolphins are going to take a step back. I didn't really love the trade. Maybe Mika's going to ball out for them. I didn't love the trade that they made. I don't think they needed to lose Jonnu Smith. Now, Darren Waller, especially if you take prime Raiders Darren Waller in the Mike McDaniel system, is actually pretty exciting. But I just don't know if that's what we're getting from Darren Waller. I do think the system will benefit him for sure, but Devon Achane is going to be a baller next season, and I hope I can pick him in fantasy. Next up, we have the Vikings. So when we were talking about the Falcons, we were talking about a wild card team. To me, the Vikings are the biggest wild card team on this list. If you look at their roster, they actually have one of the most stacked rosters in the NFL, where they could be in this elite tier. But the big question mark is just J.J. McCarthy. We don't know what we're getting. We really don't. And so I'm going to put them at the bottom of the good tier. I do think they could even be okay. I think they're in between these two tiers. I'm assuming that JJ McCarthy, even if he's just a game manager who can win games if he needs to, but he's not like not the deciding factor, but you know what I mean. Like he's not like winning games on his own like Joe Burrow is basically. And so I think that they're a big wild card team because if JJ McCarthy is either horrible, they could be in the bad tier. But if JJ McCarthy just balls out next season, they could be elite. They really could. This is a very stacked roster, and it kind of excites me. They're going to be a team to watch next season for sure. Now the Giants, they got Russell Wilson. I don't know how many games Russell Wilson's going to win you. Now, I do know how many games elite pass rushing is going to win you, and that's going to be a couple. So I'm putting them in bad tier. They're not going to be at the bottom of the league, but this team still, like, hopefully Jackson Dart works out because I guess I just don't know what direction they're going in. And this is kind of like the year for Brian DeBull, and I forget who the GM is, but this is their year to prove that they know what they're doing. And so even if they are in bad tier, they're probably going to get fired. But this is like a make or break year for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform as well. Now, the Jets, I am putting in bad tier. I don't think Justin Fields is the answer. Don't really know where they're going over there. Obviously they still have Breece Hall. Hopefully Breece Hall should benefit from having Justin Fields, but I really don't know. I mean, Justin Fields does run the ball a lot. I'm just talking for fantasy purposes, I guess, because I've always been a big Breece Hall fan. I should say after his rookie year, I was a big Breece Hall fan. Obviously, this defense is going to be good. I don't know. They're kind of in the same boat as the Giants, to be honest. Like, honestly, they're very, very similar. And so it makes sense that they're next to each other in that tier. Now, the Raiders, I'm putting them pretty bad. And honestly, don't get me wrong, I love the pick of Ashton Jeanty, and I was a huge fan of it when it happened. I mocked it in my video. And it was one of my favorite picks of the draft. But the more I thought about it since then, and the more I looked at this team just has so many holes. And I think they would have benefited on having another pick in the first round to take Ashton Jeanty. Like, take Ashton Jeanty at 6 and then have another pick in your back pocket in that first round to take somebody else that fills like a real hole on your team. Now, obviously, they did not have anybody at running back. So, like I said, it makes sense, and I still like the pick. I just think that they would have benefited from probably trading into the first round because this team just has so many holes on this roster, and I think it's really going to show next season. I'm not a fan of the Geno Smith trade. I don't know why they think. Now, I do understand it. Geno Smith did have that resurgence with Pete Carroll, but I don't think he's going to be your answer. I don't think anybody does. So I'm not a huge fan of that. But I don't know. I think they're still going to be pretty bad next season. Now, the Seahawks, I'm putting in okay tier. They have Sam Darnold. They have Cooper Kupp. It's actually an exciting roster, to be honest. They have my boy Charbonnet, who hopefully should be the RB1 next season. But I still think they're just going to be like right there trying to get into the playoffs, just like they were last season. The Buccaneers, I'm putting in good tier. Obviously, a huge fan of the Bucs. Love Baker. Absolutely love Baker. And then Chris Godwin, Mike Evans is still there. They drafted. Obviously, I didn't agree with the pick. I think that they would have benefited from taking a guy like Jahdae Barron, who got picked a pick later, but they picked Ibuka, which is whatever. I guess, if you're nervous that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to get injured again, I don't think using a first round pick on just the chance that your two receivers are going to get hurt is warranted. I think that you should use your first round pick on somebody who's going to be a superstar for you at a position that you need. I mean, that's a bonus for sure, and that they had that in Jahdae Barron. But it is what it is. I still love this team, and I still think they're going to be good next season. Eagles are going to be elite Super Bowl champs. If anything got better, I can't believe they got Jahad Campbell towards the end of the draft. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. But, this team's going to be elite, obviously. And then the Commanders, I'm going to put good tier. I think the Commanders have a good thing going. And, like the Broncos, I did predict a step back. I just think Jane Daniels is different. I don't know. I do. And I believe in the Commanders. I think they got Debo. They made a lot of good moves in the offseason. And so, I think that they're heading in the right direction. But, guys, let me know what you guys think of my list. What do you agree with? Who should be moved around? Let me know in the comments. If you guys like this sort of content, please subscribe if you haven't already. If you guys like this video, please leave a like. I appreciate all of your guys' support. I will see you guys Tuesday for my next Off the Grill episode. I believe Cole has an episode as well that he's going to post, or we're going to upload here pretty soon, a video that he did. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, guys, I appreciate all the support. I'll see you guys next time. Later.